Time Cut follows a teenager in 2024 who accidentally travels back in time to 2003, just days before her sister was murdered, and she tries to stop her sister from being killed. So this film was directed by Hannah McPherson, and it stars Madison Bailey, Antonia Gentry, and Griffin Gluck. If you remember last year, there was a film called Totally Killer, which followed a teenage girl who travelled back in time from modern day to the late 80s to stop her mother from being murdered. You'd be mistaken for thinking that Time Cut is just a blatant rip-off of that film. But interestingly enough, Time Cut was actually shot a year before Totally Killer, but for some reason was released a year later. While I definitely didn't love Totally Killer, I thought it was alright. But unfortunately, Time Cut is shaping up to be one of the worst movies of the year for me. I found very little to like here. But starting off with the good stuff, the things I actually liked about Time Cut. Fuck. I mean, really, if I did have to say something positive about this film, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. I mean, like, it is watchable at, like, you can watch it without feeling the need to die. But other than that, this film is basically just below average on every level. As a slasher film, it absolutely sucks. There is barely even a single drop of blood in this film. This film feels so clean and sanitized. There's no good kills. There's no gore. The killer has such a generic mask that looks just terrible. There's no tense sequences whatsoever. And when there is supposed to be, there's maybe 3 chase sequences in the entire fucking movie, and none of them are tense whatsoever. As a sci-fi time travel film, it also sucks. Time travel's hard to do right, but this film sets up nothing with what the effects of time travel could be. The only thing they mention, it could have deadly consequences. That's it. So when the time travel actually shows its effects, none of it makes any sense. None of it's ever discussed. There's nothing put into ground. Like, you know, you have some films that will have like the string theory for time travel. Some films will have, it's like one big thing. It's hard to explain. Like, think of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, where you in the future has already traveled back to the past. It's all this one world. This film sets up nothing. So there's nothing to chew on, nothing to think about, and you're just left with questions going, what? All the performances, and I mean all of the performances, seem like they were given one take to deliver their lines, and the director yelled, "Cut, next scene." Yep, go, cut, next scene. Like, they just feel so rushed and so unnatural. Every single, line of dialogue just feels wrong. The characters are all cardboard cutouts. They have no depth to them. And when it comes to them having any sense of reason or logic, they don't. They don't make any logical decisions in this film. Sometimes they don't even make any decisions at all. There are points in the film where you're expecting the character to make a choice or say something, tell another character something, and they just don't. The recreation of 2003 is piss poor. Totally Killer, you watch that film and, it's not a great film, but you do believe that you are in the 1980s. Time Cut, 2003, they have wheelie shoes, they have DVDs, and they have CD players in their bedrooms. That is it. It may as well just be 2024. The reveal of the killer in this film is absolutely terrible. Not only does the guy who's playing the killer not sell it, and again, that's probably more to do with the direction or the way they seem to be just rushed through production, I'm guessing. But holy shit, when you come down to the actual motive of it and why he's doing it and what his overall goal and plan is, it's just you've got to be kidding. It would have been better if they hadn't have had a killer reveal at all and this slasher was just a random serial killer. That would have been more interesting. There's also a coming out of the closet story thread here as well. And it just does not belong in this film whatsoever. It feels like an afterthought. It feels like something that the writers were just trying to add in so that these characters would have just a teensy-weensy bit more depth, but it doesn't add any more depth at all because they mention it for about 5 lines of dialogue or whatever, just talking about it, and then it's never given a proper resolution. It's just there, and it's just why? How does this tie in? How does this change our characters? How does the current situation that the characters are in with this slasher, how does it all come together? And it just doesn't. There is some terribly written narration here that is supposed to be profound, and it just comes off as so unbelievably cringeworthy. But it's also so bad to the point that it doesn't even make sense. So you have this girl, she gets like a NASA internship, and that's supposed to tie around to the fact that having her sister being killed 20 years prior has left a black hole in the lives of the family. It's left a void. It may as well be a black hole. And it's just like, what the fuck are you trying to say here? Like, I'm just bewildered by what is going on. Like, it doesn't make a lick of sense. It's so stupid. And they try and do it again at the very end. And it's just like, stop. Please, I'm begging you. About half the lines are so noticeably overdubbed too, and it doesn't match with the audio when it's not overdubbed. It's really badly done. It just seems to be like whenever characters aren't looking directly at the camera, it's like, oh yeah, no one will notice that this is overdubbed because they can't see the mouth moving or whatever. But it ends up just being like this. So you can hear me talking about it right now. This is what it feels like in the film. I got a NASA internship. My sister was murdered by the Sweetly Slasher 20 years ago. It was terrible. There is a black hole in our lives. That's what they say, isn't it? That death is just like one big giant black hole. It's fucking ridiculous. And finally, this film is terribly paced. I mean, the stuff just happens. It just lumbers from plot point to plot point. There's no threat. There's no ticking time bomb element, which there should be because she's got like less than a day for half the film before her sister gets murdered. There's no anything. It just comes and goes. There's no satisfying payoff. There's no tension. It's just like watching blobs move around a screen. So overall, Time Cut is bad on every single level. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's watchable. You can watch it and not want to shoot yourself in the face. But if I had to give like a food analogy for it, it's like eating really overcooked dry chicken. No seasoning, no sauce, just plain, chewy, dry chicken. Sure, it's not as bad as eating dog shit, but is there anything of value about the dry chicken that you're eating? Nope. Time Cut is the very definition of a Snoozefest. Thank you very much for watching my review of Time Cut. Let me know what you thought of this film if you've seen it. It's streaming on Netflix, so I'm sure a couple of you have probably just chucked it on just for something to watch. But let me know what you think of it. Again, I didn't like despise watching it, but it's so low in quality and has such little in redeeming values that I struggle to find a single good thing to say about it. In fact, I really couldn't. Anyway, I'll see you all later. Bye.